Hey, what's up? GW coming to you live. Hey, the new VHS 99 is on Shutter right now. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's a pretty good entry. It's not as good as part 2, but it's not as dismal as VHS Viral. I'm telling you right now. The stories in this film are pretty unique. Um, you have the first story concerns a dead punk rock band. Another story concerns a sorority initiation prank gone completely and terribly morbidly wrong. Um, there is another story that concerns a Medusa like creature. And the third story, or the fourth story, depending on how you relate to this, there it's hard to understand, but it's sort of a possession gone wrong with a venture into hell. Um, the one thing that I didn't like about the film is the wraparound story. Because you guys remember in VHS 94, I told you about the cool wraparound story there. But this one does not have one. It just seems to be, stories just intercut with, 80s commercials and army men, stop motion, trickery. And it's not a really bad film, but it's not the greatest VHS film of all time, but it's better than Viral. So I'm going to tell you right now. Definitely look that up. In fact, there are some throwbacks to the VHS series. Stories were pretty interesting. The movie was a little bit long, and it was again done by Bloody Disgusting, which cool, you know. So it's on Shutter right now. You guys can go check it out. But I really didn't hate this film, but I guess I was expecting the stories to be more intricate, more gory, more bloody. Um, and don't get me wrong, this is a pretty bloody film, but previous entries have proven to be very bloodier than this. So it's just going to be an interesting thing to see where Shutter takes this. You know, I got a feeling we'll be getting a lot of VHS, and it is pretty much one of the longest running, horror franchises out there. There's what? Let me think. 5. I mean, this is rivaling the Saw franchise for crying out loud. So there's that. Joe Bob Briggs Halloween special should be on Shutter here very quickly. If you guys love him, I mean, hey, the man, the myth, right? But he's probably going to get renewed again. Not a lot of good horror films out there. Terrifier 2, I want to see, you guys. And if you guys haven't seen the first one, oh, mama. That is just straight wicked gore for about 85 minutes. Killer clown. And I always love these people that go, dude, Pennywise. No, dude. Pennywise ain't got nothing on this clown, let me tell you. So Terrifier 2, look forward, keep up on it. Check it out. And did you guys hear about Kanye West? Yeah, Kanye was telling people he's, jealous of Jewish people and all this and that. And he was talking some crazy out there stuff. And, I particularly don't like the dude. But when the dude gets on an anti Semitic rant, that's pretty much time to pull the plug and walk away, in my opinion. But yeah, check out what Kanye said. I don't want to go into it because if I go into it, I'm going to be here for an hour. And sometimes it's little things that I hear or say, that I hear being said. Or if I see an American flag on the ground, it really fires me up. So we're just going to let let that one go. You guys can check it out for yourself. Um, what else in the news? What else is in the news that I could talk about? Nothing major. No Halloween releases that I know of have looked really spectacular, although I did check it out. They are moving forward with the Trick or Treat sequel. Trick or Treat, if you guys don't know, was an anthology picture, and it was a very, very, very good one. It incorporated everything: ghosts, demons, witches. I mean, all kinds of things. It was very done, very, very well. Um, you guys need to check that out. My grandmother's turning 80 or 98 years old today, and you sit here and you think about what a life someone like that's had. How much stuff she's seen, and she's really truly blessed. So I'm going to be up there doing that. I've been playing the new Call of Duty game, and I got to tell you, forget the reviews. This thing is pretty cool. What else do I want to talk about? There's a movie, you guys, and I was talking to my buddy about it, and it was around whenever I was a kid. In fact, a lot of people have missed it. And when I tell you about it, you guys are going to go, huh? It was a movie when the VHS era was really booming. It was a horror film called Junior. But I don't know if you could classify it as a horror film, but it was in the horror movie category. It was one of those big boxes, And it was about two girls who just got out of jail and they want to start a business, I believe. And don't quote me on this, but it's either Mississippi or New Orleans. I don't know. But it was a Canadian horror film. And it was a direct-to-video sequel, or a direct-to-video entry. And they are terrorized by a group of rednecks, one of them being called Junior. And the film would lead you to believe that Junior is a hulking man that cuts up women with chainsaws. There's only a few timid deaths on screen, and there's a rape scene from what I remember. But when you think about it, I'm not proud of this, but I watched this movie completely stoned out of my gourd, and it was the most frightening thing I'd ever seen. But in reality, the movie didn't know what it wanted to be. Didn't want to know if it was going to be another, Friday the 13th film, if it wanted to be, a suspense movie, if it wanted to be a revenge movie. Now, the gig with the movie is Junior hurts these women and does stupid things because his mother told him to. And I'm not going to get your hopes up high, guys, but let's just say that this movie is really not that bloody and that great, but if it were redone today, it would probably be amazing. The one scene you will remember is Junior has a bowler's hat, white shirt, suspenders, and he's cutting down the door with a chainsaw. And if they would have used more sequences in a movie like that, check it out. But again, this came toward the end of the video slasher era. And I think it was just there. You can Wikipedia this film, but the only thing is when you do, you will come up with the Junior for, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Pregnant Man film, which is like, whatever. What else? The new Brad Pitt Bullet Train movie looks pretty sweet. I think I'm going to check that out at some point. Top Gun Maverick comes out on the 31st. The general consensus of everybody that I talk to and everybody that we know, that movie is a jolt of adrenaline like you've never had before. Well, we're going to review it and see what this bad boy is all about. A lot of criticism on Halloween Ends. A lot of the fans wish that it could have ended better, because apparently in the novelization of the film, it was more drawn out. It gave Laurie a more more closure and that. Whereas the film, I think a lot of people were mad because of certain things, especially the end death sequence. I think people are criticizing the film because deep down, I think people wanted a sequel. But like I told you when I reviewed it, what, last week, all good things must come to an end. So there's a lot of criticism, but there was a lot of criticism on Halloween Kills. You remember that video I made about the firefighter and how the firefighters' families are removing to get that petition or that scene. Remember, they were going to get it taken out of the movie, and it never worked. So I don't think it's going to be redone. I think it's going to be as is. But what I think you're going to see is, if this petition and these fans keep knocking at David Gordon Green's door, I think you're going to see, like next year, maybe an extended cut, right? Or deleted scenes or something, you know. Because it seems like half the people were happy with that film, the other half were upset about how it ended, and it just, I don't know. Me, I thought it was pretty fitting, but I wasn't expecting too much. The other thing people are complaining about that film is a low body count. Well, if you take all four of those movies and watch them back to back to back, the body count's significantly high. But as a standalone entry, yeah, I could see why other people are upset. The other glaring omission that people are upset about, I guess, is the inclusion of the kid who accidentally killed his babysitter. And they wanted the movie to be 100% Michael Myers. So that's the criticism about that film. But, you know, like anything, watch it and, you know, tell me where you stand here. Really not much going on. We're gearing up for Halloween, and it's definitely fall. And slow, mundane day. And the reason I didn't do a Halloween countdown, guys, is because a lot of the horror films that I saw, a lot of horror films that I know, you know, people ask me about them all the time, and I didn't feel like I needed to make another Halloween countdown. I wanted to. I really did. I wanted to start up, but you know, when you're dealing with horror films, there's so many levels of horror. There is so many things that people like. My buddy, you know, he liked the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you guys know how I feel about that. You know, and you can't treat it like a presidential debate. You know, you go, okay, dude, you like this, cool, but that's your deal. Um, there is a ton of horror films out there for Halloween, and maybe what I'll do is I'll start naming a few off. And keep in mind, I don't think one is better than the other. You know, in my opinion, they're all great. They're all great in their own way. You know, remakes, that's where you start teetering on the brink, because you're like, well, it's not as good as the original one. You always have that to judge, you know. Or, you know, horror nobody's heard of, like, you know, a Serbian film. You know, no one's really heard of that outside of the people that really know about it, the inner circle, you know what I mean? But it depends on what you like, ultimately. I can give you recommendations to anything, so can anybody else. But it's up to you to really go, yeah, this is what I like. And then there's these horror films, the anthology pictures, and there's so many of those out, you know, Trick or Treat, you know, Tales of Madness, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, Creep Show, you know, the VHS movies I was just mentioning, you know. So, you know, I didn't do a Halloween countdown for those reasons, but that doesn't mean I still don't have my favorites, because I got favorites. And every year there seems to be one or two horror movies that really, you know, that really stand out. I mean, this year I think for me it was X, you know. But, that's just my call. But, so nothing else. Just wanted to give you an update on that. And, yeah, definitely check out VHS 99. I hope the next VHS movie is a little bit more powerful. But this one was, like I said, anything that's above the viral was good. You know. Also, real quick, in other horror news, if you guys don't know it, August Underground, the trilogy, is being re released by Unearthed Pictures. And if you guys haven't seen these movies have a very lurid history. The filmmaker Fred Vogel here is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And he made this film and he made it look as real as possible. So his videos were confiscated at an airport. He was going to a horror show. They watched the videos and they thought that it was actually very real, like he had shot an actual murder. Um, Fred Vogel was in a car accident a couple years ago. I have a letter typed up from him, and he was working on this film called The Final Interview. Now, Fred was in charge of a horror film company called Toe Tag Pictures, which was set down in Pittsburgh by the waterfront. I've never been there. I always wanted to go, but I ordered the movies off of them, which the August Underground trilogy are hard to find. I mean, you could probably find them now because Unearthed is going to re-release them, but I gotta tell you, these are not easy movies to watch. They concern uh, a girl and her boyfriend on a killing spree, and it's just random intercut shots, laced with murder. The second one, August Underground Mortem, is more like a gross out film. They keep throwing things at you one at a time, and there's no morality in this. This is basically as nasty as a film as you can possibly watch. And the third one is called August Underground Penance, which ends the trilogy in a very bleak way. I love the films. I watch them, try to watch them once a year. But if you guys haven't seen those, I'm going to leave you with this. Those three movies in one morning are an experience. And if you look at what Fred Vogel did, written, produced it, he did a lot, and any filmmaker or anybody with any brains would give him a lot of credit, for doing such a heck of a job without having much of a budget. So I'm going to leave you with that. And I will see you next week with more reviews. Peace.